Good evening. This is Homer Hendricks. This is the November regular Board of Education meeting for North Central. Wish to thank everybody for viewing. First of all, we will say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lee,
Here.
Anthony,
Here.
Homer,
Here.
Tim is absent currently. Shane,
Here.
I think he's getting on here with Dareth, I think.
Okay. In the meantime, any comments from board members?
I just again want to thank our administration and staff, for all their extra work through this tough pandemic. I know there's been a lot of late hours for contact tracing and the teachers and staff for extra cleaning and their duties. I just want to reach out and thank everybody for going above and beyond during this time.
And I will second that totally. Appreciate everything, the extra efforts that have been put forth by the staff this year.
I think Tim's in now, so we can get him in.
You there, Tim?
Yes, sir.
Looking good. All right. You got anything you wanted to say as for items for board members, Tim?
No, other than just mirroring what Anthony said. I know there's been a lot of extra effort put into trying to make things work out to keep our kids' education going as smoothly as possible. So appreciation to the administration and all the teachers and all the effort they're putting in. So greatly appreciated. Thank you.
All right. With that being said, BioLakes or Great Lakes Biomedical presentation.
They're doing a presentation on drug testing for student athletes is the presentation. We had talked about it a couple months ago, so we made arrangements for them to be here. And Kyle, how do I say that? Pruter. I was close. So it's your game right now.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Kyle Preeter. I'm the owner of Great Lakes Biomedical, and we've been in the drug testing business since 1995, and we do all sorts of drug testing. We do airlines, we do truck drivers, and we also specialize in school drug testing. We currently are testing about 150 to 160 schools throughout Ohio and Michigan. The first thing to know about drug testing is you need to answer the question, is what is the purpose of drug testing? And the purpose is prevention. It is not a gotcha program. It is not, we're going to lay the hammer down on the kids and anything like that. It just gives kids one more reason to say no. So when's the program most effective? Let's say Saturday night when kids are out doing what kids do and someone says, hey, want to smoke a joint or whatever the drug may be. Right then they can say, you know what, I get tested. So no, let's do something else. So boom, right there. That's where the program has its greatest effect. It actually helps the kids. So a lot of times people, if you would say Google drug testing, for students, you'll get like 2 million different responses there, and some for, some against. But here's some interesting data about drug testing. If you want to find like empirical data and such, you can look at the Hunterton study, the Ball State works of Joseph McKinley and such. Drug testing does work, but you have to have community involvement for it to be effective. So in other words, it's not a, hey, we did drug testing, we're good to go. You have to have the teachers, the faculty, the rest of the students and everything. It's a cultural thing, and that's all we're trying to do is change the culture of the school concerning drugs. So the next thing is I'd like to get out of the way a few myths that we have about drug testing. And the first one is typically, well, most people are against drug testing. Most parents are against it and such. Surveys from schools that we've had in the last 4 or 5 years that we did not do, but the schools had put out actually show that over 80% of parents are actually for the program. And what I find really interesting is over 50% of the students are actually for the testing. Another myth is, of course, well, if you start testing, there goes the football team. Why are you going to turn kids away from doing sports? Doesn't happen. You're welcome to contact any of the schools that we currently service, and it just does not happen. There is not a decrease in participation. So I like to make sure that everyone's clear on that. So who can you test? You can test anybody that is considered having a privilege in school. So in other words, you can never, ever affect a grade. You can't impede a student's progress towards graduation in any way. You can only do things that are considered privileges, such as sports, chess, parking privileges, and things of that nature. So it's not an all-inclusive type thing. You can include everybody in your program, though, because we do have an opt-in part of the program. The opt-in part is simply mom and dad and the student sign a waiver, and it's like, yes, I'd like to be part of the program too. So it is for everybody if they would so desire to do that. So how does this program work? What are like the ins and outs of it? We keep it very simple, and we do most of the work for you. We will have a designated person at the school. It's often the principal, AD. It's up to you guys who you would like it to be. And that's the person we communicate. Now, the designated person that's an important word because we will only talk to that person. We won't talk to the other people, other teachers, secretaries, and such. It's very confidential, and we keep things that way. So we will decide with that designated person on your testing date, and we will come right to the school and do the testing right on site. So we'll call the designated person up. We'll have a date, let's say next Wednesday at 10 o'clock. We'll show up right at the school. We'll do the testing, and hopefully when it's all done, we'll tell the designated person, hey, you're all set, we're good to go. Now, the logistics of the program are pretty simple too. We will have a random list that we'll give to your designated person. They will call the kids down on the time that we get there. Let's say my name's Johnny Smith. I'll come up to the drug test technician and say, my name's Johnny Smith. Say, hello, Johnny, you are number 13. We'll give Johnny a cup with the number 13 on it. They'll go into the restroom, provide a specimen. They will sign the specimen back out. We'll check temperature and adulterations and all that good stuff, but they'll sign out saying Johnny Smith's number 13. Johnny goes back to class. It's as simple as that for the student. What we will do then is we will test the specimen right on site. We use the same kind of screening test that the laboratories use. It's an assay type screen, and it's kind of like a pregnancy test. So 2 lines are good, 1 line not so good. And we will screen them right on site, and hopefully once we're done screening, everything will be done. What if we get what's called a non-negative? A non-negative just simply means that when we screen the test, it didn't come back negative. For example, let's say that it was non-negative for amphetamines. What we would do at that time is we would take that specimen, we would package it up, we would sign a full chain of custody, just like a bus driver or truck driver and such. We would have the designated person sign that same chain of custody. And some people might say, well, shouldn't Johnny be signing? Well, Johnny's 15, he can't legally sign anything, but the designated person at the school can. Send it to a certified laboratory. Again, the same laboratories that we use for truck drivers, airline pilots, and such. They will put it through the GCMS gas spectrometer machine, which will give us a digital fingerprint of what that chemical is. Let's say it's amphetamines. It'll be certified for that. It'll go to our medical review officer. Our medical review officer is a physician that specializes in drug testing, and they'll take a look at it and say, yep, that's amphetamines. At which point we'll call mom and dad, and say, is Johnny on any type of medications that we need to know about? Because he had a test a couple days ago and we need to know. And mom might say, well, yeah, he's on ADHD medication. Great. Could you send us a copy of the prescription? Or nowadays you can simply take a picture of the prescription bottle and email it over. At that point, that test is deemed negative. So that took a couple days to go back and forth. What do you do with Johnny during that period of time? And the answer is absolutely nothing. He doesn't even know that it's going on until maybe mom says, hey, did you take a drug test a few days ago? Because a doctor called. So as you see, with our program, there's all sorts of checks and balances, and they always fall on the side of a student because, again, the student, it's made for prevention. It's not made to, try to catch students. So if you go through that same scenario, which I'm not going to go through all again, but what if it's, say, marijuana or some other type of drug? Same process. It's going to go to the lab, go to the MRO, and then when we contact mom, it'll be basically, here's what the test was positive for, and then she can ask any questions and such. At which point, the result will go back to the school, and you will then go to your policy and go through the steps that you'll have to go through then, which typically is some sort of restriction on some of their activities if they go through and get counseling and some sort of assessment, which we, by the way, now do have an assessment program, which I'm not sure if I had gone over before, but we have an assessment program that's all online that you're able to do if you would prefer to use that. So that's pretty much how the program works. We do have a couple other things I do like to bring up for the testing is we can test for any type of drug that's illegal. And we can also test for nicotine, if you so choose. We have rotating panels. You don't have to have just one type of test. And another thing we can test for is alcohol. Now, some kids might say, you know what? I know that if I drink like a 6-pack on Saturday night and you breathalyze me on Monday, it won't show. And they're absolutely right. But we have a test called ETG alcohol, and it goes back up to 80 hours. So yes, if somebody is doing drinking and such, we can do 3+ days worth and it still can be found. Would you use that test all the time? It's up to you. We're very flexible with our program. So that's just the short version of how it all works. Any questions?
Anthony, Shane, any questions? Lee, Tim?
Obviously, it's the cost of the program is one thing that
Yep.
they would need to know something about. That none of
Okay.
them's asking. I'm going to ask because that's the first thing I think of besides. And I 100% agree. We're looking at the prevention side. We want kids to have a choice to say no. We want to prevent it from happening. That's our goal, not catching people. So cost.
Okay. With our program, it's very unique because the cost is not just like, here is the drug test and the cost. We have what's called revolving panels. What does that mean? Let's take a 5-panel drug test, kind of like your bus drivers take. Marijuana, cocaine, and opiates are always going to be on that test, but the other ones can be rotated around. You can tell us what might be coming around your area, or we'll do it for you. 5-panel regular test is $17 for the test, so it's not overly expensive. If you choose to do a 10-panel test, the 10-panel is the same thing, except it has more prescription drugs on it. And the 10-panel test is $22. The ETG alcohol is a separate cost, and so is the nicotine. But what you can do is you can mix and match to meet your budget. If you have a specific budget in mind, we can give you a proposal that'll basically say, here's some of the different things you can do. You're not obligated to do that, but we can work with you that way. Or you can just simply say, we have 500 kids and we'd like to do 50% of them. What's that going to be? And we'll make up the budget for you. So it's very flexible because we understand. I haven't come across a school yet that just says the budget is no problem. It's unlimited. Go ahead.
Is this done each and every season. So it would be done in the fall, it would be done in the winter, it would be done in the spring per se,
Yeah.
if it was random. So you would take everybody that's a fall athlete, let's use that as an example, and you would pick out a percentage of those people. And that's what we would do. Is that once every fall, or is it more than once?
Typically, it's more than once, because to be truly random, we don't want to have a situation where we come out and we test and then kind of the word would go out. It's like, hey, we're good for the rest of the season. Let's have a party or something. So we can come out more or less whenever you want. The nice thing about having so many schools all throughout the state is probably almost every week we are going somewhere near you. So we can always stop by. So we can go and do once a week, once a month, and you can mix it up. You don't have to have it, this is the actual schedule. I actually suggest every now and then doing like 2 in 1 week, just so the kids might think, hey, if they came out Monday, we're good for 3 or 4 weeks. They can say, hey, no, wait, remember last year they came Monday and then they came Wednesday again. So we may not be able to do anything.
All right. I don't have any more questions, but if I get any questions or whatever, can I get them to you? If these
Sure.
guys haven't thought of anything else that they were wanting to ask, there may be something, but
Yeah, you
I
can
appre-
always feel free to call and or email or whatever. And, we're glad to talk everything over with you. This is kind of a different, as you know, time and everything, but typically we also offer our services if you ever have community meetings. Maybe now it would be more of a community Zoom or whatever, but we can, speak with the rest of your community too, whenever you would like.
I wanted to ask, and I don't know if you would know, I see there are a few schools in our county that are signed up for this and have the program. What kind of setup do they have? And I mean, roughly, do you know how many kids they test per session?
Yeah, the schools that we have, and again, we have an awful lot. I have my school list here, and it's I used to have them all memorized what they did, but kind of gone beyond that now. It depends a lot on your budget. The way that the program works best is, if you can afford it, is you have like a big draw the line test where you test everybody, and then you do randoms afterwards. Now, of course, that's more expensive. Why do you do the draw the line test? And that's what we call it anyway. It's a mandatory test. It's a test where you say, you know what, football players and cheerleaders on August 15th is drug test day. And people might say at that point, well, that's stupid. If you tell them the date that it's going to be, aren't they just going to clean themselves up for the test? And our response is, yes, they are. Isn't that great? You have found something that will have them clean themselves up, and then randoms will help keep them clean. But more importantly, is self-referrals. Self-referrals are basically, and they happen all the time, a student will come up like the day of the test and say, Coach, I don't need to take this test. I'm not going to pass. Well, think about it. That kid's like, what, 15, 16 years old? You've told them the day of the test, and they still can't clean themselves up. It gives an opportunity then to identify a kid that might seriously be in trouble. That type of program, you normally do at least 20% randoms afterwards, so you have 120% of your population. When you put your numbers to that, that's what your budget would be, and maybe it's too big. So we suggest, if you only do randoms, to try to get 50% of your population, because kids, they're invincible. If they don't think there's a real good chance of them getting picked, they might gamble on, well, I probably won't get picked. Now, again, we understand budgets, so we have some schools that they just don't have very much of a budget whatsoever, and they do 10 kids a season or so, and maybe it's not as effective as other programs, but they do what they can. And again, that's part of what we do. We don't have any minimums. We don't have any, you must do this or whatever. We'll work with whatever you have.
What's your main percentage? I mean, are you focusing heavily on athletes primarily, or it's just student population in general?
Most schools now are doing pretty much everything that's considered a privilege. Most schools, again, are doing athletes, chess club, parking passes. I have found, by listening to some of the meetings that I've been in and everything, that you can get about 85% of your population if you include all those things. They even include certain parts of band as long as you don't get graded on that. So, and again, every school is a little different. Most schools a long time ago started out with only athletes, but now more of them happen to be going towards the whole population. But again, that's kind of up to it's your school, your house, and you'll do it whichever way you want.
Thank you.
If there's no further questions, I'll thank Mr. Pruder for helping us tonight and giving us information. And we'll proceed.
Well, it's very nice talking to you guys. Any questions, just let me know.
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, Greg is up next. Homer, he's gonna
Correct.
do the
Mr. Wildlick with the fall 2020 recognitions, please.
Yeah, so we had quite a few kids earn some special honors in their sport, so I'm just going to run through those real quick. Normally we'd have them at the meeting. That didn't work this year, obviously. I was going to have a video and then never had all the kids at school once we knew all the awards they got. So they do get a certificate for it. So I'll be giving those to them when I see them again. So for golf, we had Zach Hayes was first team all league, Mason Sanford was second team all league, and Colin Patton was honorable mention all league. And then Zach Hayes was also honorable mention all district. And then for cross country, Alexa Dominguez was runner of the year. Darby Stewart was second team BBC. Joe Burt was second team BBC as well. And then Alexa Dominguez was a regional qualifier. For volleyball, they were the BBC champs, sectional and district champs as well. And then for league honors, Kendall Bonney was player of the year. Madison Brown was first team. Cassidy Failer was second team. And we had 3 girls get honorable mention: Lauren Balzer, Alexia Miller, and Erin Elser. And then for the District 7 honors, Kendall Bonney was player of the year for that as well. Madison Brown was first team. Cassidy Failer was second team. And Stacy Roth, the coach, was the coach of the year for District 7. And then the last thing is the BBC does a Scholar Athlete Award, and it's for juniors or seniors who have a cumulative 3.5 GPA or higher. And we had quite a few kids earn that honor, and those were Zach Hayes, Colin Patton, Mason Sanford, Sam Wheeler, Colton Hicks, Michaela Myers, Kendall Bonney, Madison Brown, Erin Elser, Cassidy Failer, Lauren Balzer, and Alexia Miller. So not only did a lot of those kids earn individual honors for their sports, but they also are really good students to have that academic honor as well.
Well, thank you for that presentation. I want to commend all them athletes for their time and efforts in the classroom as well as on the sports fields. Anyone else wish to comment?
I second what you say, Homer. And congratulations to all our athletes this fall season.
All right. Is there any other comments from anybody?
Yeah, we're extremely proud of the student athletes and all the time and effort that they put in, and we're going to continue to be proud of everything that they do inside the classroom as well as on the court or the fields that they participate in. North Central is very lucky, and we're very proud, and we just want to continue to have our kids have opportunities to actually compete. That's our goal right now.
At this point, there isn't anybody that's got any questions that have come in yet, correct?
Is
I
that
do not-
Greg's? Oh, go ahead.
I do not have any yet, Homer. I was checking my email and I do not see any.
Is that Greg's report or is he coming back when we
No,
do
I'll
the
be back
principals? Okay.
later.
All right.
I'm sure there's a lot more questions for me.
Thank you.
Mr. Smeltzer, you want to give us your report, please?
All right, good evening. Item A, I have minutes from the October 20th regular meeting. Item B, financial statements and investments from October. Those reports that are always in there, you will see in there again this month. We are still, I know you guys are very aware of different grants and the coronavirus relief funding. We keep seeming to get some more, which is an awesome thing, but it is also making it very difficult. I know we did a 5-year forecast and we approved that last month in October. We'll do another one coming May, but it may look quite a bit different than the one from October once we get all this funding figured out, what we're able to offset from current costs and all that. So not a bad thing, but it's definitely gonna maybe change some numbers, but in a positive way for the district. Item C, some appropriation additions on there, $295 in the general fund, and you'll see all the other funds, which a majority of those are grant funds, $103,605. That is all I had on the agenda for approval. Unless anybody has any other questions about any of the reports that were in there.
Yeah, Eric, on the cash reconciliation sheet, where did the Fifth Third accounts go to? Did they all term limits expire? Or?
Those were closed out, and those are now, let me find my sheet here. We opened up another CD up at State Bank.
Okay.
You'll see the certificates of deposits on there are now $761,000.
Mm-hmm.
The money moved from the 3 Fifth Third accounts into either our general fund there at the top, the $2,610,000, or in that line with the certificates of deposit. So we opened up another, I want to say, we went back and forth. It was either $400,000 or $500,000 that we opened up another CD. Actually, I'll get you an answer before we get off of here because I'll get on the online banking here real quick and look.
Okay. And then I had another question. I've seen other schools doing it, and I know the auditor's been on us. Do we need to appropriate more money to the cafeteria as like a loan and have it paid back once all these installments come in, or are they okay to continue running in the red?
We are currently okay where we are at. That's why I've been doing that lump sum at the beginning of the year in September. As long as it doesn't go too far in the negative. I mean, if we do, then we may have to do exactly what you're saying is transfer some money and transfer it back when they get all their payments in. I did write down that number. We are, as of today, after all the deposits, negative $3,315 in the cafeteria fund. So that's a little different probably than what's on your sheet at the end of October. Can't find mine real quick here, but I just had it.
Yeah, it was 15,494.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got that money from the state with all those free meals. It doesn't come in till the following month. So we got $25,000 from the state that just came in here in the first week in November that was for October's meals. But no, we'll keep a close eye on that. And if it gets too far in the hole, we will definitely do that. But per the auditors, the last time I asked, it's okay as long as there's money coming in to help offset it. So if I have to do that, we definitely will.
Okay, makes sense. Just curious. That's all I have. Thank you.
With that being said, I need a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented.
I'll move.
I have a motion by
I'll
Tim.
second.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Lee. Any questions, comments further? Call the roll, Mr. Smeltzer.
Anthony,
Yes.
Homer,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Shane,
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Hannick, your turn.
All right. Well, thanks, Homer. First of all, I wanted to cover the numbers. We are currently at, as of the 13th, which is Friday, 609. We got 69 kids on Nova. We have 52 of them that are homeschooled, and Nova was originally 87, so we're down from 87 to 69. Open enrollment out is 81, and 32 of those 81 open enroll directly to the east, to Hilltop. So those are numbers I like to keep an eye on. Has anybody got any questions on that? Okay, second thing, I'm ecstatic to say that Madison Township donated $19,747.43 of their CARES Act fund towards North Central to help offset the cost of COVID-19 costs. So as we did last meeting, you know, Bridgewater donated, and then we got some. So to date, we have spent $89,000. And with these donations and the money we got, it's almost break even. So we're very fortunate that we were able to offset the cost out of the general fund for all the different things that we've been using and buying in order to head off, deal with, clean up, clean, re-clean with COVID-19. So that's one really positive part of COVID-19, that at least we have had people step up and offer to give us some of their leftover money that they couldn't spend in time. And again, every little bit of it helps. Every little bit of it's appreciated. And these types of donations are very much appreciated by our school district. It shows support. I would like to say that we're on remote learning this week also, and that has to do with COVID-19 as well. Despite all the things that we try to do and we are doing, we still ended up with, in the last 2 weeks, 7 students positive, 9 adults positive, over 165 kids are quarantined. 37 staff have been either positive or quarantined or have to stay home because somebody else is home that's quarantined. We do have 3 staff back now, but it's been very challenging to try to, you know, have kids and staff in school when this thing is spreading like it is. And I would make a plea to the community to make sure that if we want to continue to have school, which we do, in-person learning is the best way and the most effective way to teach. We have had kind of what I would call totally different than what the other schools are seeing. A lot of ours is in the elementary versus the high school. So it's the exact opposite. Some schools are going to remote learning 7 to 12 and then having the kids pre-K to 6 show up. Well, our pre-K to 6 has been hit very hard. Not that everything hasn't been hit hard, but that's been hit especially hard. And our staff, on the drop of a dime, was able to turn into the remote learning. We have had professional development with the support of our school board and our staff. We were able to, we've been ready. It's just, you don't know you're ready till you actually have to do it. And we have been getting some positive feedback for how we've been doing. This is not the plan to go for the rest of the year. The plan is to be back on December 1st, provided that we can get, you know, our staff back healthy. So hopefully between this week, the week of Thanksgiving, we'll get people that are quarantined, because the way that works is if you test positive or you have symptoms, we got to go back 48 hours and we got to use the rule of 6 feet, 15 minutes, 24 hours. And then you have to trace every single person that was within that range. So just imagine if you were on a bus or you were in the cafeteria or you were at a practice, you were in a small classroom. And so that's how all that comes about. And we've spent a lot of time tracing. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments, but that's where we are right now. And our staff is working as hard as they can to make this happen. Some of them are working even though they're under quarantine, so they got to work at home. Everybody that can is coming in and working from here.
I do. I mean, I want to touch on that, and maybe you can clarify. You know, if there's no shame in staying home if your kid shows symptoms, and with remote learning, I mean, we're pretty lax on excused absences, correct? I mean,
Yes,
I know.
and I think Marsh and Andy are going to get to this, but
Okay.
we're having kids log on at the beginning. I think in high school they probably log on every period. Is that right, Marcia? And in the elementary, the teachers, because it's a different ball game at the elementary based on the individual teachers have the kids, you know, more time than what you do at the high school. You move from period 1 to period 2 to period 3, because we're doing 8 period days at the high school, and junior high we're meeting with everybody. The elementary, that the teacher has to determine, you know, whether the kids are doing the lessons or not. And I think, Andy, maybe you can touch on that, but the way I understand it is they're getting some way to know that they're there, and then they're checking to see the progress that they're doing during the assignments that they were given.
Yeah, correct. We talked as a staff Monday morning. We had a Zoom meeting, and you know that was going to be one of our challenges and hurdles, is just the attendance piece, because when you're dealing with first, second graders, a little bit different than our juniors, seniors that, you know, can come up to school and get their things, can log on. I mean, childcare is an issue. Parents are working is an issue. So I think we have a pretty good plan. We're going to look back through the week. As long as students are participating in their Zoom meetings with the teachers, we're counting that as attendance. And some kids aren't able to Zoom with their teachers during the day because they're at the babysitters, and the babysitters watching other kids, maybe not have internet access, so on and so forth. But as long as they're going into their Google Classroom, Google Suite, finishing their assignments, the teachers are looking back and giving them, the attendance credit for those types of things. And also, obviously, we're looking at the academic credit as well. So yeah, it's a little bit different in our building compared to obviously Mrs. Rosebanks.
Dr. Rose, you got anything to add to that?
Not really. We are taking attendance every period. A lot of times it's a matter of student, just give me an email. I do first period study hall, for instance, and that starts our day out. Kids send me an email, say I'm here. That's it. That's all they have to do. The teachers in the classroom are doing basically the same thing. Log on, tell me what the problems are. I sat in on a Zoom yesterday class, absolutely phenomenal. I had another teacher today record on Zoom so that the kids can play it back anytime, if they didn't understand something, and can keep repeating it. The teachers, I've been really pleased. This is nothing, absolutely nothing like what we had in the spring. It's not what we want. We want to be here, but since we can't be, the kids are doing a great job. Teachers are doing a great job. So it's a good second choice.
The other thing we need to be mindful of is I've had a couple phone calls from parents, grandparents today, and teachers just trying to be flexible and work with families, because all of a sudden they're getting students sick at home. So, I mean, they want to do their work, they want to log on, but they're having, difficulty doing that because now illnesses are creeping into their household. So I just told the staff, be flexible. We got all week. Julie can backdate or put in things a little late when it comes to attendance. And so we've worked through some individual things just case by case today.
Yep. So have we, and it's fine. We'll give them benefit of the doubt. Main thing I'm concerned about is everything's on Google Classroom in our building. Get the work done, get it turned in, teachers can grade it. That's more important than if you're sitting there for 5 minutes or whatever. I have to take attendance, I have to do that, but kids are doing a really good job.
And Anthony, I guess to answer your question, if there's questions, people have a concern, they can get a hold of the teacher through email. They can get a hold of Dr. Rose. or Mr. Moore, and we'll try to work through those problems because we don't want those to be ongoing problems. We don't want kids to fall behind. This isn't ideal. I mean, I just want you to think about preschoolers that were in preschool and kindergartners last year, those little kids that school shut down in March. Then they come back now and they're, one grade ahead in theory. And so here we are a year later and we're running into the same kind of problems. What's it going to be like them for their education by the time we get to the 3rd grade reading guarantee? That's the kind of stuff that our administration's talking about. That's the kind of stuff that scares us. We want to do everything we can do, and the staff too. I mean, they know that, being here every day and not having a regular day, you don't always get through everything. This makes it that much more difficult. So those things are all being thought of, and we want to do the best we can, and we want to serve this school district in any way we can. So.
Yeah, and my question was geared more towards when we get back to in person, are we a little more lax like before? If our kid had a little sore throat, we just send them, or a bad headache, just send them. With the remote, way we're set up remotely, are we a little more lax on if a kid misses 20 days throughout the school year just because mom, kept him home because he had a little sore throat? Or, I mean, I think at this time we'd rather they stayed home. And
yes, well, our school nurse is telling people if you got symptoms, stay home, because if you don't, you could end up with 200 kids out, which that's where we're at. And people do. I mean, it's the nature of all of us. I guarantee you everybody that's on this screen that I'm looking at has gone to work when you didn't feel 100%. You had a sniffle or you had a cough, and now we don't know if that means there's, that you're spreading something. So the advice is, if you have symptoms, and one of the big ones is if you lose your sense of taste, you probably have a problem. So that's what we told the staff. That's what we're telling the parents. I mean, again, we want them in school, but we're kind of stuck in a catch-22. Unless I'm saying that wrong.
no, that's what I was asking. We're a little more lax on our attendance. Like I say, if you miss 20 days, they're still going to be excused because we'd rather teach you remotely, a couple of days here and there, and instead of risk bringing it in here into the building.
Yeah, we don't want to teach remote for the rest of the year. That is not our plan. That is not our goal. That's not our intention. We are prepared to do that if we have to, but that is not our intentions or plans.
Anthony, just one other comment. By law, I have to track the number of hours that a student missed, and then I send out a letter, and then blah, blah, blah. And I do that. Kendra and I do that every week or every other week. Do I tell the kid that they're going to fail because they've missed 20 days? Absolutely not. If they make the work up, I just have to track it.
Mm-hmm.
But the kids, I would not hold that against the student as far as their work is concerned, as far as going on, passing a class, going on to the next grade level or whatever. But I do have to track it. That's just the way it is.
Yeah,
They are
right.
lenient.
But you're a little more lax and working with them.
Absolutely.
That's what I was getting at and asking.
All right. Does anybody got anything else about that? I know that's a very hot topic. All right, I wanted to get into the next one. We're going to talk about review of the effects of levy failure. We need to talk a little bit about this. First of all, I think probably everybody knows here that we had election results from March.
Hold on 1 second, Mr. Hannick.
Okay.
Homer's screen just went completely black and we lost Homer off our screen here.
Oh, we did?
Trying to figure out if his computer went dead or what.
I don't know. Deb, are you out there?
think his battery went dead and my screen's showing that my battery's really, really low too.
You on, Deb? Oh, okay. They're,
Is his battery dead? Is that what it is?
yes, it's flashing red.
Okay.
Do you want Mr. Hendricks to come to my office? He can finish from here, or Marcia's, if you want me to report out quick or something, if that would help. I'm not sure what's happening there with tech.
I can take my computer over to the boardroom.
You want to do that, Marshall? Why don't you go on over there while
Let me turn me off.
Yeah, we're currently, Shane's battery's dead and Homer's is too. Working on getting them back up.
is she putting batteries on? Is that what she's doing? Or putting
Yeah,
chargers?
she just got here with chargers.
Okay.
So bear with us for a few minutes.
You all set, Homer? We just got to wait on,
Yeah, we're waiting on Shane at this moment, getting his up and going. We do need to send thank you cards to Madison Township and Bridgewater on behalf of the board and the administration.
Yep, I agree.
okay, I will put that down. Okay, I see Shane showing up.
All right, thank you.
Mrs. Myers is doing a fantabulous job again.
Trying to keep us in. Hi, Shane.
Hey,
Hi, Homer. Where'd you go?
I'm
Wait a minute,
back.
where'd I go?
All right, I think we're back.
Mr. Hannick, I guess you can continue at this point.
I was on the subject of the levy, and that's when everything went out. That's interesting. We had two elections. We had one in March, and it was during the height of the COVID, and it didn't get finalized until later on in April, and then we've had our November one. First of all, I think we need to thank all the people that support us and have supported us. We really do appreciate it. We also, and me personally, I would really like to reach out to those that, for whatever reason, don't support us, would like to know what it is exactly or how we could be better servants to our community, or let us know what maybe it is that we need to do differently or better. I know we're trying as hard as we can. I know we're working hard, but there's always, everybody can improve. So I wanted to start there. The election in March, it was basically 58% to 42, 58 against and 42 for. It was low turnout. There was a total of 859 voters, and a lot of that had to do with, I think, probably COVID and people not being able to get out and vote. It was an earned income tax of 0.5%. So we put it back on in November, and there was 2,099 votes. So you go from less than 1,000 to 2,099. We had 885 for and 1,214 against. It was an emergency levy, a 5-year levy that was asking for 420,000, 3.92 mils. So those two failed. We haven't had new money since 2004. And we're trying to find ways to plug a budget that we're losing money from the state. They took some away from us at the end of last fiscal year, and we're projecting deficit spending and running out of cash. So I wanted to start there with those things. And as a result of a couple levy failures, we need to start looking at what we can do to curb because if not, we're going to run out of money. Obviously, that's not what we want to do. So I had a conversation with Mr. Smeltzer, as we do a lot. And in order for us to kind of balance the books, we're looking at, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Smeltzer, somewhere between $200,000 and $250,000 worth of cuts. Is that an accurate statement?
That is correct.
And most everybody, at least here, knows that to 80%, 75 to 80% of your budget is the people that you have working with the students. The backbone of the school, obviously, are the people that serve the children every day in different capacities. So if we were to start thinking about ways to trim $200,000 to $250,000 and 80% of your budget is people, obviously that means people. So we have a couple choices. I mean, we have to make cuts, but we also have an opportunity to potentially put a levy back up. It wouldn't be till May, and we would have to decide that by next month of what kind of things that we may think about, or we may think that are options for us. We have the earned income option, we have the emergency levy, and we also have something called a permanent improvement levy. In other words, the money that you pass in the levy would go directly to permanent improvement type things. It wouldn't go to the general fund, it would go to the PI fund, and you would use that money to buy things. And for instance, buses, technology are two big areas that we spend money on that we don't spend enough on buses, because we're in a rotation now that even if we bought one bus every year, that would be what we have 10 buses. You know, our rotation would be, see how old those buses get, Mr. Moreland. That makes them what, 20 years old at the end?
Yes, right now we're at what, probably 17 years on our oldest.
Mm-hmm. So we need to replace those more often than we do, and we can't replace them all at the same time. Those buses anymore are over $100,000 a bus. So that's just some ideas that I'm throwing out. I'm just letting the board know that we have to come up with and agree upon what we would do to reduce the budget. $200,000 to $250,000. 80% of 250,000 is 200 just in people. So as we think about something like that, which isn't a fun thought, knowing that in 1920 we took the first step towards that. We had an AD that left, and we replaced that position with a half-time teacher, half-time AD to save money there. We reduced the administrative staff. For this coming school year, what we've done so far is we reduced the school resource officer. We've eliminated a mental health employee. A teacher retired and we didn't replace them. We just replaced within, so we were down one teacher. We cut an aide from the ESC. We cut 10% out of the principal's budgets. We hired our new positions that people left in, all at 0 years, in 3 different positions, new young people. We consolidated bus route. We eliminated a cafeteria position. We started out with no extra help in the summer for custodials until the end when we needed to build a bunch of stuff, so we brought somebody back. We moved a special ed teacher from the elementary to the high school, and we took a kindergarten teacher and put them into the role of credit recovery so that we could serve our kids that were online in order to serve kids. So we did all those different things coming into this year, which had we not, and on top of that, we took our wellness money and we used it to pay salaries. When we did do the project, we did one big project, which was the playground, which very badly needed to be done. But then we took the majority of the money that was set aside to supplant so that we would try to somehow balance the budget. That's what we did. So now we're faced with 22 or 21, 22 coming in and figuring out how we're going to cut $200,000 to $250,000 out of a budget and continue to have school. It's going to be tough, and there's going to be some hard choices to make. Obviously, if you just want to take it in simple math, you cut 5 or 6 people and you might get to that number. I'd have to get Mr. Smeltzer's opinion on that, but Is there anything in there that I talked about, Mr. Smeltzer, that you would say that is inaccurate? I mean, based on the things that we did coming into 2021 and knowing where we're heading, is there anything else I need to cover?
I think you covered everything we had discussed.
Mr. Hannick,
Yes.
how much per year do we spend on things that could fall under a permanent improvement budget? So if we passed a levy that was a permanent improvement levy, we already have a permanent improvement fund that certain money goes into permanent improvements every year. But how much could we supplant out of our general fund with a permanent improvement fund where, you know, we just wouldn't have to take the money out of the general fund to pay for these things? It would come out of a, you know, something designated already for permanent improvement.
Exactly. So we spend a lot of money on technology to try to keep the kids. We're rotating technology in for the staff and the students. But I think we could probably buy a bus a year, transportation wise and technology. That would cost us almost $200,000 just doing those two things. Money designated to do that would then free up money in the general fund so that we would be able to operate. And that money that people would have passed would go directly towards those types of things. It couldn't go to anything else. And as you know, our PI money right now, the majority of it's being used to pay down the interest on the building. So we really don't have PI money. So that's another issue that came with the new building.
The principal and interest on the building, we've got another 5 payments. I think we just discussed that too, Bill. I think we got another 5 payments, and that's over 215 to 220,000 a year coming out of the PI fund for that.
And then there's a 0.5% coming out of the PI fund to go into the building fund at the high school or this new building on top of that. So you got 4.1 mils designated to PI, but really only 3.6 goes to everything else but this building at the high school. And it's all designated for permanent improvement things. And so when you have an older building, which we do, the rest of it, not this one, there's a lot of things that need to be done. There's roofs, there's HVAC, there's general things that break down and maintenance that you have to do, whether you want to do it or not. It's no different than a house with all the things that you got to replace, hot water tanks or whatever comes along. We need to have money designated for that. And we can't use it for anything else but those designated purposes. That's the point. So what my thinking, I'm just throwing the PI idea out there in that maybe people would be more supportive knowing that that money would go directly to, you know, buses, and they would see the bus and they would see the technology that the kids had in their hand. And that would give our technology, we would be able to purchase maybe instead of 1 grade worth of technology, we might be able to do 2 or 3 and it would be for kids obviously to use. And anybody that does anything with technology today knows it doesn't last for 10 years. It doesn't last for 5 years. Think about how often you buy a new phone. Well, we want our computers for our students that have to do remote learning to be the best we can buy, not the best deal we can find. We want what's best for them. So, I mean, those are ideas that I'm throwing out. That's another possibility. I don't know. You guys obviously have to consider all that stuff. I mean,
do we have any idea how much we're spending per year out of our general fund for permanent improvement things currently?
I would estimate $200,000 to $300,000 a year. I mean, if we're paying for our buses out of there, I mean, we have lease payments and so forth. And that's just me saying that number without Mr. Smeltzer verifying it. But I mean, I'm talking in generals, he can give us more specifics, but
we're not paying a whole $100,000 for a bus every year currently.
No, we are not.
We're leasing them right now, but that could be the potential. If we're going to purchase one every year, it's going to be around $100,000 per year. But I mean, we are spending for technology and a lease payment for the buses that we're paying right now. It's at least $100,000 a year currently. I mean, I'll do some research and get you an exact number, but it's at least $100,000.
Well, what about the payments on the new lighting and so forth? Wasn't that kind of a leased own?
Yeah,
loan?
That's coming out of the general fund, not the PI.
Yeah, that's
But that could have came out of PI.
right, but
Yeah,
we don't.
yes, correct.
Yeah, we don't have money in PI for that. So that would be something else, you know, those kinds of things. But if you designate specifically, let's say 2 things that we're going to do, and there could be other things if there's money left over. That's where we're at. But that's considering only if you have new dollars. If not, it goes the way it is.
Correct, and I understand that, but we also need to be aware that we do have them existing expenses
Exactly.
that we're taking out of general fund that would under normal circumstances would be coming out of PI. And I know that's what Shane's question is
Yes.
how much are we taking out of the general fund to supplant the PI money?
And that's why your question was really good. I think it's probably closer to 200,000. But again, I'm not the treasurer. He can give the more exact numbers, but I'm guessing it's around there.
That's what I was trying to get at is
Yeah.
how much could we save spending out of a PI fund if we passed a PI levy that we're currently taking out of our general fund to offset not having to cut positions, you know?
Well, that
Dave,
if we can get 2 mills,
250,000.
yeah, if you can get 2 mills, each mill is worth about 108,000. That's the latest numbers today. That would be 216,000. If that number was able to, that would get us in the range between 200 and 250. If we were to pass 2 mill levy, of course, you can't collect anything until 2022 if you pass it in 21, but. And I don't, you know, we'd like to know, you know, the $1 million question to me is what is it that the community, the people that support us and the people that don't, what is it that we can do, or what is it that we're not doing that they would like to see us do that would change their mind? And if the answer is I just can't afford it, that's one thing. If the answer is I'm upset about, you know, whatever it is, we need to know that. And I'm man enough to say, you know, hey, if it comes back and says, hey, we just can't stand that superintendent, I would be willing to say to you guys, you know, if we wanted to put it in writing and say, hey, if the levy would pass, the superintendent would leave at the end of that year and for the betterment of the school district. That's exactly how I feel about the school district, because I think it's more important for us to plan and make sure that we take care of these kids in this community down the road, because this is what we're talking about. We're not talking about today. We're talking about 10 years down the road. We have to have a school district because the value of houses, the community, the kids, it all depends on this. And that's bigger than what I am personally.
And that right there is why I can guarantee it's not the superintendent.
Well,
I'm just
telling you, it's, I mean, if that's what it takes, if that's what people come back and tell you guys, if somebody would get that information out and they'd say, hey, we don't like that person, or if there's something we can change, that is not an issue to me, because the institution is above the person. This is the people's school. This is the people's building. This is the people's school district. And they have a say. And so that's just how I feel personally. And I say that because I mean it. And you guys that are board members and the administration here works too, and the staff works here too hard to not have what we need to make this school district last into the future. And part of what has to happen is eventually, no matter where you're in school at in this state, you're going to need more operating money. That's just how it is. And some schools have an easier time than passing it. And some of the things that really hurt my feelings are that's just the way it is, or that's that, you know, we just don't pass levies here. Well, maybe we need to know why. Maybe the real thing is, you know, let's find out the why.
Bill, what's the possibility of sending out you know, a survey? I mean, I guess just being honest now, you know, people fill surveys out, some do, some won't. I think we take a shot at that, but you know, just being brutally honest. I mean, maybe there will be some very, very honest people within the school district that won't hesitate to send back some responses. So we have something to feed on.
Right.
And number two might be, I think, maybe just a lack of knowledge or maybe understanding. I know we reach out through social media and those types of outlets, but I think there may also be a very large number of people that may not follow social media as closely as others do. And maybe reaching out to these people with either a direct mailer or a survey or something, just to kind of get their opinion or some feedback so we know how we proceed going forward.
I'll tell you what would be super helpful, and I'm glad you brought that up, Tim, is to get some kind of a committee. And I've had 3 people already come to me and say that they'd be willing to help and get out and do that. We need to put together a committee, whether it be the NC Eagle Pride Committee or something, and get out there. And I'm willing to go anywhere. I'm willing to meet with anybody. I'm willing to go anywhere and talk to people. You know, I don't know as many people. I mean, of all of you that you have the connections. And I don't want to just talk to people that agree with everything. I want to talk to people that don't agree and have questions, and I can give them the best information that I have. I haven't been here 20 years, so I can't give them the whole history. And I really don't want to go back into what happened in 1992 or, 1958. I mean, we got to look at what's happening now, and we got to move forward. This is where we're at. And so I know that would be very helpful. And to have a lot of that stuff you have to do without school money. You got to get donations. If somebody would be willing to help us with, that kind of thing for donations, or maybe, I guess we can talk about it, but those are just things that I was thinking about. And I just want to know the whys, and I want to know what we can do better. I know that we're trying really hard to serve the community. We're serving the kids, but we don't always make everybody happy. Let's be honest. And if you think you make everybody happy, and if you think you know everything, you are deadly mistaken, because there's always somebody that could give you a better idea or can help you maybe see things through a different light, because maybe that's what it is. So I'm just generally talking that way. I think we need to really think hard about if we want to put a levy on. Shane's questions are legitimate. I think we have to do something. And if it doesn't pass, then we have to go through with whatever we decide to cut or reduce, or however you want to call it.
I think we got to take the question, if it doesn't pass out, we need to charge forward. We need help. We need to get staff involved, community members involved, and we got to say we're going to pass this levy. And
that's
we
what I
got
want
to
to
get out
say,
there.
Anthony. I agree with you.
Well, we can't go into it, having a negative perception. We got to go at it full tilt, and we got to get it done.
Right.
And help is the biggest thing we need. We've
Yes.
done 2 levies now, and volunteers are not beating down the door.
They are not.
We got to get that. We got to get a committee, and we got to get information out. People are not getting the information. They're not reading the newsletters. Like Tim said, they're not on social media. Senior citizens aren't on the school Facebook page. So we got to get out. We got to knock on doors, fist bump, wear masks, whatever it takes, and get this levy passed.
Thanks, Anthony, for getting me back. Sometimes I get a little frustrated just thinking about it, because I know what's at stake for the future of this district. I really do. And I don't want to think about the negative part of having to, like Mr. Smelter says, eliminate $200,000 worth of stuff that there's not a lot of things to get rid of. So you're cutting programs and you're hurting kids, is what you're doing.
Yeah. And I think we've talked a little bit, but are we able to double up on our levies and give the community a choice and what they'd like to support?
Yeah, you can put 2 levies on. You can do that. So you can pick, just to make something up, just squarely make it up. You could say, okay, I want to put on a 0.5% income tax or a 1/4% income tax for operating. And at the same time, I want to put on a $2 million PI levy, and you can put them both on the ballot at the same time, and you can look at the amount of money those would generate, and some would go to the general fund and some will go to PI, and that would help some. It's possible. I don't, putting two on at the same time is a lot. But if we were able to get the message out as to why, you would hope that people would be able to support it.
I think, yeah, it is a lot, but, like we've already tried, we tried earned income tax, that's going to help out our senior citizens, help out our farmers, that we're very rich in this community. And of course we had COVID, so I don't think we got the numbers we wanted. And we've tried millage and didn't get that. And of course our senior citizens are going to get hit with that pretty hard, and farmers. So, if we had an option out there, maybe they would at least select one. Maybe they would select both. And if that be the case, I think we got avenues of turning one down, or.
Yeah, potentially you can turn one down and say, hey, thanks for passing both of them. We'll give you, but then you got to decide which one you'd turn down.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Anthony, you're on a right track. I think if we can get a motivated committee that's out here and seriously going door to door, and getting people's pros and cons, are you for a levy? No, I'm not for a levy. Would you mind sharing with me why you're not? What can we do to make this better? Clearly we know that the education is at stake for our kids. And, I think, can we always do more to get something, out to the community to gain their support? I think there is, but I think it takes great minds, great ideas, and a motivation to say, hey, we're going to get this done. So I agree.
So is
Anyone else?
anybody got anything else that you want me to, because if we're going to do something, you're going to have to direct me for, you've got to start I want to cover what we have to do if in fact we look at that direction, going for some sort of a levy.
Do we have to do a resolution then in the December meeting?
You would have to initial filing deadlines for an income tax are January 22nd. Property tax levies are January 22nd. Emergency levies are January 29, and bond issues are January 4th. We would have to do something. We could have 2 meetings in December. You can have 2 meetings in January or whatever. It's just, if that's the decision, we just have to get the information around and agree on it. So, those are some of my thoughts. I
think, at this point, we definitely got to have our original meeting just to probably hear the facts Shane was asking, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
What it would offset, and then we've got to toss around the 3 different options and put 1 on, put 2 on. So I think we need to have a informational meeting first and then make our decision and have another meeting with the resolution. Or can you bring all 3 resolutions to the meeting?
I can have any kind of resolutions that you want ready.
The resolutions is how much time do we want to wait and see what feedback we get from the community before we determine what options we want to go with next. I agree with you. There's no doubt in my mind we need to do something, but maybe some community input after tonight's meeting. Do you want to have a meeting before the December meeting, or do we want to try and sneak a second one in between the December meeting and the January meeting, or one right after the January meeting? We've got them options, but do we want to wait 4 weeks for our next board meeting is the question before we start acting. Do we want to allow the community that much time? Do we want to try and knock on some doors try and get some input into what would be perceived as our best option for putting something on the ballot. I'm not sure whether I can answer that.
Well, we could send out a generic survey, like Tim said, funded through the school, couldn't we, to all North Central District residents? Make up just a generic survey with few questions and maybe what type of
Absolutely positive
issue they would support or something.
Yes. Or we could put something, we could also put it out on our website too. I mean, you could do it a couple different ways.
But all I'm saying is, how much time do we want to wait? Do we want to allow until the December meeting, regular meeting, and then try to work in one extra one before them deadlines in the latter part of January?
Right.
We would definitely have to make start the process in December of what we want to do, but we would be allowing the community 3 to 4 weeks to give us their input. Then we could make a decision and determine what levies we would like, levy or levies that we would like to push forward with a motion in December. And then we may have to come back, obviously to finalize that with either a special meeting or do it in January organizational meeting night, or possibly even have a special meeting after that organizational night to meet the deadlines. And that's the only thing I'm saying is, do you want to wait 3 to 4 weeks to try to get input back from the community?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which ought to give us 4 weeks if we go our original meeting date. And then if we got to do one a week or two after that, or our organizational meeting, we could still have time to do the.
You're talking the December 18th meeting, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just, make sure we get everything back 12th or 13th of December. We'd like to have as a deadline for any comments or from the community, and get something out there, and then we can look through that and be prepared to make some kind of a motion for some kind of a levy or levies in December, and then follow through with that with the auditors and the Board of Election and stuff. We can get that process started at the December meeting, which may include having to have a special meeting for the second readings or so forth.
Absolutely. And I would be willing to take any input anybody have. My $1 million question is, what is it that we can do to make the people that are not supportive, what is it that we can do or what is it that they'd like to see for the school to do in order for them to flip and be supportive? That's the $1 million question to me. And then what kind of levy you put on, it really doesn't matter to me. I would like to make sure that we're able to operate this school going into the future. That's really what it is for the next generation. That's what our job is.
Well, one of the things that we might take into consideration is taking a look at the Board of Election, just to kind of determine what areas that we need to focus on, whether it was, the Pioneer Precinct or was it outside, where do we need to focus our attention on reaching out to people? If the majority of our support was actually in town and not out of town, then we obviously need to change our focus and reach out to those people that might be more applicable.
Yeah, if you look at the breakdown of the different places, Bridgewater was the biggest amount of voters was in Bridgewater, 751, and then Pioneer has 707, Madison has 454. This past election I'm talking about. Jefferson and Mill Creek 122 and 65. The biggest against was in Bridgewater. and that's where the most voters are. So that would be one area to start with. But it only passed in one precinct. It passed in Pioneer. Everything else it failed in.
And that's in the millage. The earned income tax went down across the board.
Yes, yeah, I was talking about the most recent one. Not the other one before that. It went down in every precinct, but there was only there was a small amount of voters. Still, the most amount of voters in the first one were from Pioneer. 314. Then there was 282 total votes in Bridgewater, and 191 in Madison, and 45 in Jefferson, and 27 in Mill Creek. So, but the overall number of people voting in that first one was really, really down. I want to say we got more yes votes in the second one than there was total votes in the first one. So
let's get the survey out there, or the questionnaire out there, see what we get, and then we'll address this in the December meeting.
okay. All right, I got a couple more things. Sorry that took so long, but I thought it was important to talk about it. I wanted to remind everybody that we have early releases set for Friday, December 18th at 1 o'clock. That's right before Christmas break. And then Thursday, May 27th, 2021 at 1 o'clock. Those are both 1 o'clocks. And then our next meeting is set for December 15 at 6 o'clock or 6:30 in the high school Eagle Room. And then we got to think about for the December meeting when we want our January meeting. I threw some dates out there, either Monday, January 4th or Monday, January 11th, one or the other. So we need to be thinking about what you guys prefer for that. And then, as Homer said, we may have to schedule some other meetings. So, and maybe January 4th is right when we get back. That's what we kind of did last year. And January 11th, those are both Mondays, just so you know. So just give me your preferences and we'll think about them for the December meeting. And that's all I have. And I appreciate your input and your attention. And hopefully you board members hear some things that will be helpful too. I mean, there are people that may approach you guys and give you some thoughts.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Hannick. All right, Mr. Moore.
Okay, good evening, everyone. A few updates from the elementary building. We had our first 9 weeks awards assembly about a month ago now, and one of the challenges that I faced was, with COVID, masks, social distancing, and whatnot. It looked a little bit different, but the end result was still the same. Mrs. Rosenbank and I talked about that. We still want to recognize our students academically for a job well done, especially this first 9 weeks with all the things that we're asking them to do in the classroom, in the hallways, in the cafeteria. So we changed things up a little bit in the elementary. Each grade, 1st through 6th, came down to the cafeteria. We had a little assembly. Obviously, the teacher spoke, I spoke. So all in all, it was very good. But honestly, we want to get back to those whole grade assemblies. I like it when the 3rd grade teachers talk about their students, so the 4th graders can hear that, or the 2nd graders can hear that, plus families can come in. We did not have families come into this assembly. Deb and her team taped the assemblies, which was nice, but still, I'd like to get back there, and I'm sure we will. Parent-teacher conferences took place a couple weeks ago here in the district. Again, hurdles and challenges there was Zooming, either Zoom with parents or phone Zoom conversations, but all in all, I participated in a couple meetings and I think it went well. The teachers said it went well. A couple, parents said it went well, so on and so forth. But all in all, just a couple little things with technology, more of connectivity things. But we had to call a few parents here and there. But all in all, I thought it went well. And I'm sure once we get to our winter months, we have another one, I think in February, we'll probably end up Zooming once again for those conferences. Veterans Day was this past Wednesday, the 11th. And, it's the theme, or a little bit of a broken record. Things are different there as well. We usually have a big community assembly, ask our veterans in, ask our community members in. Our elementary students do a great job. But that looked a little bit different, obviously, this year as well. I just ask all the staff in my building, do something to recognize and thank our veterans, past, present veterans. So from, kindergarten, first grade, a lot of coloring projects, pen pals, writing veterans, stories about veterans. Our 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, they did some videos and that type of thing. Again, Deb and her team posted those. Miss G. Gillespie was a big part of these films and whatnot that we sent out. So all in all, it's still a very good Veterans Day program, and I'm just appreciative of all the students and staff for their hard work last week for Veterans Day. As Mr. Hannick mentioned, obviously the big news in the building, our building and Marcia's building is just they shut down this week due to COVID-19 implications. I've been so pleased with our staff. We had a quick Zoom meeting on Monday morning, talk about some, expectations of the staff, expectations of the students. And, I said, we have to build off what we did this past spring, but also, our September 25th, I think it was, we had our remote day. But all in all, I think it's going quite well. We had a pickup last night and tonight of some items for families. We had a lot of families in, talked to a lot of families, and they understand what's going on in here in the school, and they're very appreciative. Do they want students here? Like Mr. Hannick said, sure, we want them here. But all in all, I think the elementary team's doing a wonderful job with regards to Zooming and so on and so forth, keeping the students engaged. But it's the hurdle that we're facing right now, and I think we're getting through it, quite well at this time. So all in all, this week's been a challenge, but I've been so proud of the staff and whatnot, and providing for our students. And, I want to get back to face-to-face. We had a great first 9 weeks. I mean, our attendance, I know Anthony asked about attendance, and our attendance was outstanding. I mean, historically, we got 15 to 20 kids out each day, but it was like 8 or 9 or 10. I mean, I think kids were looking forward to coming back to school this year, parents and whatnot. But geez, this past week, it's just really hit us hard with some of these illnesses in our community and students and staff. So that's all I have at this time. Questions for me?
I just want to say, your teachers and kids, that Veterans Day live stream you guys done, the 2 different ones, was well done. Much appreciated by your staff and students. They did a nice job. And the community really took to it as well.
Yeah, and thanks, Anthony. And yeah, and 5th, 6th, and 4th really were the key grades in that, but still the little ones as well did some things, and we pushed, think about them. We're not gonna have our big, assembly singing and everything, but no, I agree. And Deb and her team put the videos together, and I thought they all did a real nice job. It's just something we're giving back to our veterans and community, so it was nice. All right.
Anyone
thanks,
else?
everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Mrs. Rosavank.
Thank you. We also had an awards assembly on October the 27th. It's a little easier because it's just a junior high. So we went to the junior high gym just like we always do. Differences, they had masks on and they were spread out all over the bleachers instead of just in one section. But it worked out really well. I had 40% of the 8th grade and 38% of the 7th grade on honor roll, which is just really good. I also like to recognize the students who've had absolutely no detentions for a whole quarter. And some of the detentions in the junior high come about because kids haven't quite figured out at the beginning that they have to do all their work and turn it in. So sometimes they might get a half an hour detention because they got like 3 strikes where they didn't turn in homework for 3 times. We don't do it for once, but after 3 times. Anyway, I had 59% of the 8th grade get an award, no detentions, and 71% of the 7th grade with no detentions, which is really pretty good. On Tuesday, November the 10th, the 8th grade got to participate in a virtual tour of Four County. It was just like an introduction type of thing, just to show them what kind of things are out there. Winter sports pictures were taken on Tuesday, November 10th. I fortunately, because I like doing them, but I fortunately finished all the first round of observations and evaluations last week and got those all done before we had this little pause. And so I won't be doing any more formal ones until after Christmas break. Parent-teacher conferences in the high school have always looked a little different than they did in the elementary. We had far fewer, though, than what we usually have. Our junior high teachers are usually booked solid. High school teachers, not so much, and that's normal. But this year, with the Zooming and the telephones and whatever, we had on November the 2nd, the first Monday night, we had 18 conferences in the junior high and high school. That was only 18 total, and it only involved 8 families. So like one family would have conference with 5 teachers. So the different conferences, I had 18, but I only had 8 families represented. On November the 9th, we had 29 conferences, a few more, with 12 families. So I think the Zoom worked really well. No one complained about it. I just think that a lot of people didn't want to do it because they couldn't come into the building physically and talk with the teachers. We were talking about attendance a little bit ago. Our attendance today for our, because the kids have to say I'm here or log in or something like that. I think Kendra just sent it to me. I've only got, I think, about 15 kids, 13 kids, I guess, for the whole day. And that's a normal day in the high school. It's not, that's just what we usually have. So the kids who couldn't be here because they were on quarantine, I can count them present here because they can do their work from home and they can log in and say, I'm here, and do the work. So it worked out pretty well. That's all I have. Any questions?
Anyone? I think we got to keep remembering to applaud the students for their efforts also.
Absolutely.
All the way from the little ones to the big ones. All right, then, I guess, Marcia, we're done. So we'll go on to Mr. Wadlick.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just repeat that point. From a teacher's perspective, the kids have done a great job of getting on Zoom, and so they've been doing a good job with that. So on to athletics. So just kind of going through where we're at now, what the plan is. Obviously, we're postponed athletics until next Monday, which would be the 23rd, which means the girls basketball game on Friday night has been postponed. And then girls basketball is supposed to play on Monday. I called Wayne Trace's athletic director about that today because we're not sure if we are going to play after not doing anything for a week. But that's tentatively still on, but most likely will be changed to a later date. And I'll kind of talk about why that's not been done here in a little bit. We're still going to be doing vouchers for winter sports. The difference is, unlike fall, they're not going to be prepaid, but another difference is they'll have assigned seats for high school. So for boys basketball games and girls basketball games, each voucher will be tied to a seat. So no matter who uses that voucher, they will sit in the same seat. And that's just so we can help with social distancing and making sure that we have people as spread out as possible. And the way that those seats will be assigned is just kind of going through the team. You start with your seniority and just go with players and kind of assign their seats that way. Cheerleaders will be doing all of our home games. They will not be traveling. I haven't heard of a school that's sending cheerleaders to away games, even for our non-conference. So it's just kind of a thing that people are keeping them at home and not having them travel. And junior high, we're going to try to play as many of their games in the varsity gym as possible. There are 4 days currently that there is both a high school and a junior high event on the same day that they will have to play in the junior high gym. There's 2 boys games and 2 girls games that will affect. But as often as we can, we're going to put them in the bigger gym to give people a chance to spread out more. And then the last thing, the OHSAA sent out a survey to all administrators, athletic directors, principals, and superintendents. It ended today basically asking, what is your opinion on winter sports? And it was, I think there were 4 options, and it was continue as normal, postpone indefinitely, postpone until January. Maybe there are only 3 options. So those were the 3. And so that ended today. They haven't released the results yet. The plan is that the OHSAA will look at that survey, and then they'll meet with the governor, which will probably happen tomorrow. And their updates have been coming on Thursdays. I'm hoping they tell us the results of what they're deciding from that survey before Thursday. But those were kind of the 3 options that they presented. So either just go with it the way things are scheduled, postpone until things get better, or postpone until like January 1st. So that's what I have currently. What questions are there?
Has there been any talks of a season with no spectators?
Not that I've heard. It's been staying at that 15% like they did for fall sports. That's been the plan since back in October when they started talking about it. They've said that's what they plan to stick with the whole time. And that wasn't a question on the survey or anything like that. And we will be live streaming all our games regardless of if we do 15% or not. But yeah, I haven't heard anything about that.
I think we'd be, if we got to play, I think we'd be willing to play even if we didn't have fans, right? I mean, rather than not play.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
given the option of
whatever we
not
can
playing,
do
yeah.
Whatever we can do to give the kids a chance to
Yes.
play, we will do whatever we're at. And just so, I guess, not going into any detail about this, but due to contact tracing and things like that, almost every single team we have has been affected by that. So it's not just affecting our school when things like this are happening. It's affecting our teams. We have coaches being affected as well. So it's been tough for some teams to even be able to practice just because of how this is affecting our school and our student population.
Yeah, I got a call from Brian, superintendent, their whole boys basketball program. 9 through 12 is quarantined now. So, and they were, so you can't practice, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
So
and
just
we've
for
been very
example,
fortunate. Yeah. We've been very fortunate that none of the contact tracing has had to be at a practice. We actually got kind of lucky with that on one, but luckily all our contact tracing has been at school, and we haven't had anyone at a practice that tested positive. So we've been lucky that we haven't had to go back to any practices. But also just kind of with safety measures, there is a form that every coach fills out at the beginning of every practice to help us with contact tracing, and they go through and they do a symptom check, and they also show who all was at practices. So just like teachers are doing things to help with like taking attendance and showing where kids are, coaches are doing that as well, which if we ever do get to that point, will make it very easy or easier to do our contact tracing.
Anyone, anything else? and we know you'll keep us updated. All right,
Will
thanks,
do.
Greg. On to the consent agenda then. Employment, Brad Taylor is a cafeteria substitute. Jalen Dancer for ED number 4 as the JV boys basketball coach. Also the teacher paraprofessional substitute list is presented by the Northwest Ohio Educational Service Center dated October 29th. Do we have a motion to approve these?
I'll move.
Anthony,
Second.
second Tim. Questions, comments? Call the roll, Mr. Smelter.
Tim,
Yes.
Shane,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Anthony,
Yes.
Homer.
Yes. We do need a executive session to discuss personnel and employment. Do I hear a motion?
I will move.
I have a motion by Anthony. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Shane. Call the roll, please.
Shane,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Anthony,
Yes.
Homer,
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Hey, I just wanted to we had a question that came up that Mr. Smelter sent me just in being transparent and trying to answer questions that our community has, and hopefully we can. It says it's made mainly a comment, and I want everybody to hear it just so you hear it. It says when the levy didn't pass, there were a lot of comments about knowing about the levy. Maybe we need people going door to door explaining it. Also, people in the community do not understand the different funds, meaning probably the PI funds versus general funds and stuff, maybe grant funds. It doesn't say that, I'm just assuming. One question I have heard is this money going to be spent on sports? That was the email I got. Then I got another one asking me to send somebody the breakdown of the levy results. And so I sent that out, and I wanted to bring that question to all you guys. And I think Mrs. Myers just put something up here. I think it says another comment. Would this test also show if a person is using vapes, even if it doesn't have nicotine? I don't know the answer to that, but I'm sure that we could get that answer. That's a good question. Other than that, don't have anything else. Just wanted to share that with you guys. That's what we got.
I have a question.
Yes, the
Yes,
newspaper.
this is Rebecca Miller with the Village Reporter, and I just was wondering, Mr. Smeltzer, could I call you tomorrow morning to get some clarification on a few things about the levy? Just so that when I put it in the paper, it's facts and what you guys need to see in the paper. Will you be available tomorrow for a call?
I will. I am not going to be in the office, but I can give you I will send you my cell phone number.
Okay, and my email address is right there on my picture, so just pop me your phone. And Mr. Hannick, would you send me that as well, the breakdown of the levy results?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. And that way I won't have to ask 16 different questions tonight.
I'll send you the breakdown of the last 2 elections.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it. That's all I have.
Okay. Okay, Deb, you going to shut the meeting down?
Yes.
Okay. Because we won't be doing anything coming out of executive session.
Okay, thank you.
There'll be no action.